Welcome to Shaping eCommerce with IronPlane. This is where we talk about e-commerce development, solutions, digital marketing, and all things e-commerce. Be sure to check out the description below each video to find additional resource links and show notes. We upload new videos each day. Please like and subscribe to our channel.
In this episode of our e-commerce marketing series, account executive Tony Mascareñas will discuss paid advertising and messaging strategy. Plus, he offers key takeaways on how brands can boost e-commerce revenue by utilizing paid advertising channels. Hi, Tony. Welcome back. Why don't you give us a quick introduction and tell us a little bit about what you do here at IronPlane?
Hi, Susan. Thanks a lot. My name's Tony Mascareñas. I am the account executive. I do a lot of the outreach or the outbound efforts for IronPlane to bring in clients, as well as do a lot of the connections and partner building. Basically, do a lot of business development. My background is heavily into advertising, marketing, and now I'm doing the e-commerce. So I am happy to blend the two knowledges that I have to help our clients and viewers share the information on paid advertising and e-commerce.
Great. So let's start. So how do brands get started with advertising? So what should business owners do first? And how do you know if you need to implement advertising for your e-commerce store?
Well, yes. First off, I think that every brand or every e-commerce store should be doing advertising, particularly if you need or want to grow your business. Unless you're sold out on all your products, you probably should have some type of advertising strategy in place. So definitely recommend everyone to get some type of marketing campaign, whether it's digital or even in-store or live events or something like that, to make sure that you are making your customer base aware that you exist, as well as growing that customer base. So I definitely think that you need to grow your sphere of influence. So everyone should have some type of advertising strategy.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then, so how do business owners go about setting budgets? So do they do it by marketing channel? What are some best practices for setting up budgets for small business owners?
Well, looking at that, first there's I guess kind of a set of steps that you would go through. I would say figure out what their needs are. What are your goals for your advertising, and what are your goals for your what do you want to have your advertising campaign and your marketing strategy do for you? Is it just buy the products? Is it create awareness and some type of engagement? Are you looking for subscriptions? This will kind of tell you what you kind of need from, or the results of your advertising campaign. Secondly, I would definitely put together some type of tracking mechanism, whether that is a promo code or some analytics and some tracking mechanisms on your website, to make sure that once you engage in your advertising strategy and start spending money to put the different campaigns out there, that you know what they're doing and what is working. And then finally, setting the budget. So the budget, there's a lot of rules of thumb. Again, you set a budget and then you got to stick to it, even if you don't see the immediate results, because advertising does take some time. It takes an investment. It's like a snowball. It's like the first little bit of it is small, but then you keep on building and building, and it actually gets bigger, and your awareness of your product gets bigger. So a couple of rules of thumb. For a B2B business, it's recommended that you take 2 to 5% of the company revenue and place that towards your advertising budget. Now, if you're a B2C or D2C, you're looking at more of a 5 to 10% of your company revenue to set up your advertising spend. And so again, I've always seen companies put together the budget, and then if it doesn't work right away, they pull back, but that's not the case. You really need to let it kind of, you can optimize it throughout, but you need to let it go and continue with the investment throughout your, your year budget.
And then when it comes to budgets, what are some best practices?
Well, after you've got your number established, there's some ways to, determine the channels and figure out, who you're going to advertise for or towards and target. So, the channels can be determined by your audience, and the channels, whether you're going to put it onto social media, you're going to put it into, direct, maybe trade publications or websites, or if you're going to just do, programmatic, and we'll kind of get into all this different type of advertising a little later. But one of the good things to do is, to determine the channels by the audience, and who is your audience, and where are they going, where are you going to be able to access them. You can find out who your audience is by, your Google Analytics, to maybe track to see where people are coming from, and you can see some demographics. You should have that. That's part of the tracking devices that I mentioned before. You can also look at some of your competitors and check out what they're doing to see if they are, what kind of channels they're choosing to run their advertisements in. If you go to their websites and see if they're retargeting, you can just do other types of things to look at your environment or your market to see what some of the competitors and some of the other people who are similar to you are doing. So that will kind of give you an idea of the channels that are working. And of course, use your own knowledge of your customer base, and you can always talk to your customers and find out where they have found out about you. That is key, is to always know who your current customers are and where they came from. Another tool, if you're looking to do some more technical tools, is like you can look up your website on a SEMrush, or you can look up your competitor on a SEMrush. This is a site where you can see the demographics and where people are coming from, and see what they're advertising, what their keywords are. There's just a lot of great information on some of these platforms, and I definitely say you should make use of that. All the different types of tools that you can when you're choosing the channels and your target audiences.
Yeah, that makes sense when you're setting out budgets, looking at the different channels and your target audience is on those channels, and then moving your budget around accordingly based on those channels. That makes sense. Okay, so let's talk about when it comes to e-commerce brands, what types of paid advertising can really benefit brands the most? I mean, is it digital ads, print ads, in-store ads? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, obviously on e-commerce brands, the most, the one that makes the most sense is digital advertising, whether it's banners or AdWords or, emails and so forth, because your business as an e-commerce website is already online. So getting your customer who's already in that environment, who's already shopping online, or actually doing some maybe research to do their shopping or find your brand. So digital ads are great. Some of the other medias are print, and you mentioned in-store. So print ads are, I've done a lot of print ads in the past, and you can see success with print ads. They take a whole different meaning, but you got to make sure that you're again targeting the right places, putting your website on display, and making sure that the content is very clear, that you have to go to a website to access your brand and your products. Some of the other things are, if you do have an in-store, then obviously this is key to make sure that everyone sees the same message that's on your website in your store, and in your store on your website, having access, maybe some QR codes to where they can jump right onto your site, sign up for an email and so forth. So the in-store is, if you do have a brick and mortar, is key to make sure that you have those information gathering tools in the store to find out who your clients are and get that data, because today we know that first person data is just it's just valuable. It's gold to the survival of stores right now, with all the different challenges that Facebook Google, and Apple have put in place to find out, to target people. Knowing who your customer is key. So if you have an in-store, even if you have people going to your website, make sure that you're trying to, engage with them, get their email and so forth. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that in terms of getting email and capturing all that data, and then really having kind of a cohesive branding strategy across the board, like you mentioned, having your in-store branding kind of similar to your digital marketing branding and things like that, and your website, of course.
Mhm.
So let's talk about how do brands go about determining their audience? You talked a little bit about that before. So how do you find out who your target audience is, and what's the process?
Well, again, this is, I think as a business owner, you probably know who's, using your products or buying them. But, obviously some of the information and the tools that you'll use are the Google Analytics on your website to see where people are coming from and see, if there's any information on them. If you have social media channels, this is a great way to also determine who your audience is. Customer surveys and quizzes and all that type of thing on your website. If you already have a website, finding out, who they are, why they love you, information on them, and then using that to not only just advertise for them, but to service them and to really give them a great customer experience. And then again, you can always look at, the tools, like I mentioned, SEMrush, look at your computer, your competitors. But what you really want to do with this information is you want to build a customer persona. So this will help you, kind of find out, okay, so if it's, a particular demographic, maybe it's women who love smoothies and they, like to do workouts or whatever. So then, that's the persona for this particular product. And you can then find that persona across all different channels in all different areas. And that's how you would be able to target, people who are going to most likely purchase your products.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially with, social media, being able to really engage with your audience in real time on social media channels.
Mm-hmm.
I think that can really provide valuable information to different e-commerce brands and business owners.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now let's talk about how do companies determine their messaging, their brand messaging styles. So how do they craft their messaging to really help them accomplish their business goals? What are some best practices there?
Well, again, I kind of been mentioning this because it is such a important part of the business today, particularly in e-commerce, is to put the right message out there. So let's say if you're an eco-friendly company, you want to make sure that all your information is right, spot on with your customers who have a particular interest or they care about something in particular, and your brand is filling that niche. So if you're a luxury end brand, you don't want to have any type of discounts. If you're an eco-friendly brand, you don't want to, it's not quite advertising, but sending something out in complete plastic, that might not be so good. But then also letting people know about, how you guys are concerned about the environment. Looking for marketing trends, who are you talking to? Is it a younger audience? It may be more casual, and you can have more of a laid back message and maybe that could choose your channels as well. But your tone of communication is just really important today, because there's so much competition and so much noise that you got to really try to relate with your customer and make them feel that not only do you care about them, but they care about, like, maybe you put a portion of your proceeds back to a charity, and then that would be a great message to it does two things. It helps charity, and then it also gains brand loyalty. Other things that if you're not really trying to build that type of imagery of a brand, then you can do the sales and the discounts and but that can get that can get dicey pretty quick if you want to get into the discount competition. Because there's always someone else that's going to be trying to underprice you. So I think for long-term longevity of a brand is to really cut out your own, your own voice, and something that's that really impacts your customer and it makes them grow. Let's say become an actual evangelist for your brand, so that they love your brand and they want to tell their friends to do it. And so that's kind of the messaging is very important. And you got to make sure you just don't go out there and put hey, 20% off everything, because that's not really saying a whole lot about who you are.
Yeah, I agree. You have to have some kind of strategy behind your messaging, and kind of for luxury brands, things like that you mentioned. But I do think it's important to have kind of like your style, if you're relaxed style, if you're a surf shop, or if you're a luxury brand, to be a little bit more formal in your messaging. So
Absolutely.
Good points to have in terms of crafting out your messaging strategy across the board, and kind of keeping it consistent with your tone and everything like that. So
yeah, absolutely. That's it is about consistency and continuing, and keeping it, very direct, and, again, appealing to your audience. And not only that, but like having, and actually believing in it, so that when, they come to your website, they see that your message out in your advertising is reflected on your website as well.
yeah, and consumers are getting more savvy. They know if it's on brand or not, and they see
Yeah.
that messaging and they're like, wait, what? And they get
Yeah.
confused. So it's really important to be consistent.
And that's another thing, is just that consumers are so savvy. They know when they're being sold, and they know that when it's not like a genuine type of message. And that's just something that's happening. We all know that consumers go to a website several times before they actually make it to the checkout cart. So keeping that consistent and keeping it genuine, I think is really good. And then, like I said, if you're young and you're doing some type of, hip type of vocals, or not vocals, but messaging, then you got to be the same way on your site all the way through. If you're, maybe some type of, medication or something like that, then you need to keep it, very informative and formal. And that goes for your advertising as well.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so when it comes to paid advertising, how do companies determine if they should hire an outside agency or keep their paid advertising in-house? So how do they go about choosing an agency?
Well, that's, I think that particular question is a great one, because a lot of people, I think, will, I can just go ahead and get a couple of ads built and then run them and then see if it works, or, make their office managers maybe, become their marketing arm, or somebody who, or maybe the boss thinks he knows about the marketing. But today it's just too many channels. There's so many channels that unless you really have a dedicated team in-house, you should really consider an agency. And one of the reasons that an agency makes sense is because that's all they do all day. And they have a particular group of people that probably have a ton of experience from their whole career that they can contribute to making your brand, successful. And typically, it depends on, the agency and what you have them do. It's going to be less expensive than actually hiring people and having them full-time in-house. And having an agency will keep you a little more nimble, and that way you can just hire it out. They come in, that it's professionally done, and they should have all the T's crossed and the I's dotted and the buttons pushed before your campaign, particularly when they're starting to engage into the digital campaign. So how do you choose them? That's kind of, you can look at, if you're in a particular industry. I know that there's some agencies that specialize in industries or in products, and so you might want to go talk to them. Otherwise, you can, do a Google search just like everyone else does, and figure out, do some interviews, talk to them, see what their what their style is, if they have any type of like experience to your brand. Agencies are more than willing to put together a quick proposal and some idea about how or what they want to do, or what they would like to do, how they can help you build your brand, get the advertising, and obviously get sales. So I would say talk to at least 3 different agencies, consider some proposals, look at what your market or your industry is doing, and then once you gather some information, have your team, have your CEO and your marketing manager or head of marketing and so forth kind of see what fits best, because they're gonna be an extension of your company, so you have to be comfortable with them.
Right. Okay. Well, great. So thanks, Tony. That was a great overview of paid advertising and some messaging strategy we talked about. And you gave us some key takeaways on how brands can really boost e-commerce revenue by utilizing these various paid advertising channels. So in the next episode of our e-commerce marketing series, Tony will discuss some various types of paid advertising and offer some best practices for optimizing ad performance and increasing return on ad spend for e-commerce brands. So once again, thanks for joining us on Shaping E-commerce. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more episodes in our e-commerce marketing series. Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Susan.
For more insights on how to improve your e-commerce website and for a free consultation, visit IronPlane.com. Follow us on social media and like and subscribe below.